But yeah, as I said before, we're going through our top 15. So we've all sent in a list of our top 25 wide receivers, and we've averaged it out, got a list of our top 15. Pilch has suggested today that we go from position 1 to 15 because, usually 1 to about 4, we usually share the same opinions there. So it will be a bit spicier. And I rate that. So that's what we'll be doing today. Without further ado, I reckon we just get straight into it. Number 1 on our list, we've got Michael Thomas, unanimous number 1. We all put him up there as the number 1 man. Curtis, there's not really much to say about him, is there? But why do you froth the great man?
Tall, athletic, can catch, fast, just gets the job done no matter what. I mean, there's not even much to say. Like, he's just consensus number 1. Even when he had the backup QB last year, was pumping out huge numbers. Just he's guaranteed to put you in like 20 range, 20 plus range every week. So yeah, I don't see why if you had the opportunity to pick him up, why you wouldn't.
Yeah, similar to CMC and Lamar Jackson, as we've discussed in previous episodes, the gap between him and second place is so big that even if he does fall back a little bit or number 2 improves a little bit, he'd have to drop off a serious amount to not be number 1. Pilch, are you very confident that he'll be number 1 or?
Yeah, no brainer. Like he's a lock to get the most targets again this year, and like the amount of volume he gets, there's just not really any way that he won't be at least top 2, but most likely number 1.
Yeah, and then I know you're a bit of a sucker for some draft strategy. You're pretty intelligent when it comes to that, Pilch. How early would you look at taking Michael Thomas? Like, I know it's usually running backs go first, but would Michael Thomas be a top 3 pick, or do you not think he'd go that early? Would you take him that early?
I'm definitely taking the elite running backs before him. So I'd say maybe if at the end of the first round, if he falls down there, then I'd maybe grab him, but probably not.
Yeah. Kurt, have you thought too much about your draft or not really?
Jeez. Yeah, I kind of have. In my mind, I'd go first round, best running back you can get. So if you're up the top, you'd probably go top 5 running back because just they're guaranteed to put points on the board every week. And then I was thinking probably QB is going to be my second pick, especially if there's like Mahomes or Lamar up for grabs. I'd definitely waste my second round pick on that because I think they're both elite and they're guaranteed to rack up points. And then if someone like Michael Thomas or Tyreek Hill, who I presume we're going to talk about soon, they probably won't be on the board, but if they're on the board, you got to go for one of them. You just get that's when you're going to start looking at your first wide receiver.
Yeah, look, I don't think there's too much chance of them Thomas being there in the 3rd round, maybe Tyreek Hill, who knows. But yeah, no. The only thing with that call is he's basically a running back. That's how consistent he is because he just gets like 10 receptions a game. So it's almost like as much of a certainty as a running back. But in general, wide receivers are more inconsistent. So you would be looking at a primo running back first, wouldn't you? But it's a bit of a weird one to think about. It's hard to compare the positions. So that not much really needs to be said on him. Fantasy Pros ranked him as number 1 as well. So they agree with us there. He has the 4th easiest fixtures out of all the wide receivers. So like his wide receiver group has the 4th easiest. So that's also pretty spicy. But without further ado, we'll move on to number 2. Just pipped number 3. It was Davante Adams. Pilch and I had him at number 2. Curtis, you had him down at number 5. Fantasy Pros agreed with me, and Pilch had him at number 2. So averaged out to, he was like, 3 points, whatever. So Curtis, why were you not 2? Well, you were keen on him because you had him in 5th. Like, let's not exaggerate that. But why did you have him below some of the other guys?
I'm just a bit worried about the output. Well, Pilch has been saying this the whole time, but the output of the Packers collectively. So I feel like if because they're obviously heavily reliant on Adams. That's well known. And to be honest, Rodgers doesn't have much else going for him in terms of wide receivers and tight ends, etc. So I'm just worried that some weeks if he gets locked down, he's not going to be able to rack up those points just because they're obviously there's going to be occasions when they're going to try and double man him or double team him and just stuff like that. So yeah, we're just gonna wait and see. But yeah, that's exactly why I had him at fifth and not in my top four. But he's still a tier one. Like I was trying to talk about this before, but the way I did my wide receivers, I more tiered them because I found it pretty hard to put them in a set order. So if we're talking tier one wide receiver, he's still a tier one wide receiver in my books.
Yeah. Pilch, why do you have him up at number 2?
Yeah, just basically because Rodgers has absolutely no one else to throw to. We saw in the second half of last year, he pretty much had to throw everything to Adams, and now they've lost Jimmy Graham and Geronimo Allison as well. So he's pretty much guaranteed 150, 160 targets, which will lock him into the top 5, probably even higher. He's not necessarily the second best wide receiver in the NFL, but just based on the situation he's in at the Packers, has got him the number 2 for me.
Yeah, I can't lie. I've been in the last 20 minutes, I've been looking at my rankings and questioning some of the positions. This is actually one, if I had my time again, I would consider changing it. I don't know. He came 6th last year. But the thing with me is, yes, they lost Graham and Allison, but I'm not too sure where he gets more points from. I guess Green Bay, their attack might be more fluent this year because it was Matt LaFleur's first year last season. So maybe they get a bit more expansive on the offense. But I can't see why he would, obviously 6th, and he was 4th in the second half of last year. That's obviously insane. But I'm not too sure where the jump up to 2nd is guaranteed to come. But yeah, as Curtis said, he'll be double teamed every week, but he probably was as well last year. Similar to Thomas, he actually has very easy fixtures. He has the 2nd easiest in the whole of the NFL. So that's also something that probably helps his case as well. But yeah, the next guy we're looking at is Julio Jones. This is the person I was just talking about. I'd probably reconsider putting him over Davante Adams. I had him at number 3. Pilch, you had him at number 4, and Curtis, you had him at number 3. Curtis, why do you have him above Davante Adams?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like the Falcons are going to be better this year. So I feel like he's going to have more opportunity just to rack up big numbers. Last year, obviously, wasn't his best year, although he did rack up big points last year. But yeah, I just feel like they're going to be better overall this year, and as a result, I feel like Julio is going to have a bit more on his plate in terms of catches and yards. So I feel like he'll just rack up a few more points than last year, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're probably going to score more touchdowns as they do get better. Their attack wasn't bad last year, but just maybe a minor improvement. Also, Calvin Ridley's improved. We'll talk about him later, potentially. But he's improved, so maybe Julio cops a little bit less attention from the corners. He doesn't cop double teaming or something like that. But then on the flip side, they have lost Austin Hooper, who had, I think, 97 targets last year. And Mohamed Sanu as well. I think he had 45 or something in the first half. So both those guys gone. Believe it or not, Julio's targets could actually increase from last season, and he already had 140 or something. So could improve still on last year's pretty impressive season. Pilch, you weren't not hot on him, as I said before with Curtis and Adams, but why'd you have him at 4th?
Yeah, well, like Thomas, we sort of know how consistent Julio's going to be. Last season, he had the 2nd most targets behind Thomas. So that'll probably stay around the same, potentially drop a bit with Ridley expected to take the next step and become elite this year, but he'll still be right up around that 150 range. I just think Adams has is going to be far more likely to get more targets just because he has absolutely no competition, and he does tend to score more touchdowns than Julio as well.
Yeah, if Aaron Rodgers is 10 out, he's probably more likely to throw it to Adams than Ryan would be to throw it to Jones. Because, Ryan obviously has Todd Gurley. He has Hayden Hurst to throw it to. He also has Calvin Ridley. Whereas Green Bay, it's basically just a flip of a coin between Aaron Jones and Adams.
It's a miracle! Oh, yeah! What about that one? Unbelievable! Balotelli!